Please give a warm welcome to writer, director Mary Bronstein and the extraordinary Rose Byrne. Well, welcome, ladies. Mary, when I introduced the film, I mentioned to you, I told them that you take us inside her head,
yes.
that we're navigating the landscape of Linda's mind.
Yes.
And so I'd love to talk to you about how cinematically your language, which is phenomenal, by the way. I love to start talking about the choice of close-ups, no establishing shots, no exposition. We're right there.
Yes.
You know, tell us about that choice from the get-go.
Yeah. Those are choices that I made. Really, the first inception of this movie, which is the first draft of the script. All those choices are in there. My idea was to take away anything extra that was the movie is in this woman's point of view. It's in this woman's reality. Right. So anything that's outside of that is unnecessary. That was a rule that I made when I was writing the movie and then when I was filming the movie. So we don't see anything that she doesn't see. We don't hear anything that she doesn't hear. And we're nowhere that she isn't. And so by following those rules, there can be no establishing shots. There can be no looking out from the inside at her.
No negative space.
No negative space. And I didn't want to leave any room for reality checking, because the only reality that exists in this film is Linda's reality.
Which includes the child.
Yes.
We don't see her because that takes away from
yes.
us seeing Linda.
Yeah, and there's two reasons that I made that choice. The first one is conceptual, and the second one is a little manipulative. The conceptual part is that Linda, in a figurative way, cannot see her daughter during this time. She can only see her as like a obligation, or something that's put upon her, something that's victimizing her, something that's happening to her. She can't see her as a daughter, as a little innocent little girl that she can derive any joy from or any normal mother-daughter relationship from. So I decided, as an experiment, what if I took that figurative unseeing and made it literal? I had never seen that in a film before. And for me, making a film, a big part of it that's exciting is experimenting with the form. So I made that choice. But the second part of that choice is also that once you introduce the face of a child on a screen, because of the way that human beings are hardwired, unless you don't have a soul or something, your sympathy and empathy is going to go to the child.
Correct.
Just naturally. It just naturally happens. And I wanted our empathy to stay with Linda. It becomes an empathy test in that way.
Correct. But I interpreted that she's so under duress that she cannot see the child.
She literally cannot see her. And so we as the audience only get to see her when she sees her.
When she's able to see her.
She's able to see her.
Rose, she mentioned we've never seen anything like this. And we have seen, by the way, extraordinary performance. It's unbelievable. And it ties to what I'm about to say. I've seen incredible movies about women having a nervous breakdown. I'm thinking Jenna Rollins and John Cassavetes' film. But all of the examples that I can think of a woman have a nervous breakdown have been directed by men.
Yes, thank you.
And
yes.
Can you tell
Correct.
us? Can you tell us about, from your vantage point as an actor, the fact that you're going through this performance and it's being directed by a woman? by Mary in
By
particular.
Mary, I know, no, it was an extraordinary experience and an opportunity. Like, wow, what a gift to have this opportunity to try to bring this character to life. And this is not only is it directed by Mary, it's written by Mary. This is a personal story to Mary, which she has spoken about, at various times. And so it was such a gift to try to unravel this character and peel back the onion of who she was, and having that we immediately sort of we hit it off and had a great kind of creative conversation from day one of what this was going to be. And we had a really incredible rehearsal period. We got 5 or 6 weeks, just the two of us sat at Mary's kitchen table 3 days a week, just going through page by page the script, every line, every bit of dialogue, and just,
we talked briefly about no establishing shots, nothing but her face. But I was noticing, I've seen the film twice now. There is so much specificity in your performance, and I was just wondering, did you create a backstory? Because there's a tone to your voice, there's a tone to your physicality, there's aspects that come out about her. Did you build the?
We did. No, we built everything. I was obsessed with who Linda was before, because you do get no information. You are very much just dropped into this hot situation, and my job, is to figure that out. Like, who was she before? Everyone's going to respond differently to this sort of crisis, and why is she responding like that? And so we sort of reverse engineered to where we got to before this moment where we meet her. And we talked to a lot of women who have children with special needs, which is fascinating to see that whole spectrum of experience for women. I spoke to a therapist. I worked with my co-units in Montauk, so we worked on the accent for Montauk. So there was a lot of fun.
I had
fun
Rose go
work.
and do a breathwork session.
Oh, yeah.
We did that.
But you don't want to see an actor's homework, like that's boring.
it's
But you
all
want it to
there.
feel lived in. You
But it's all
just want
there.
it to feel lived in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mary, going back to the language, can you tell me about the visual lighting contrast? Like,
Yeah.
the brights are freaking bright and the dark are so dark.
Yeah.
And the importance of that.
So for the visual look of the film, I was very inspired by photography. Specifically, Nan Golden was somebody who I looked at a lot. And I've noticed in films in the past years, films have become very muted and very sort of almost undersaturated. And people, I don't know what that's about, but I love old movies, and I love black and white movies, and I love to see blacks be black, and highlights to be hot, and these kind of contrasts. And so that's something I knew that I wanted to do in this film. One thing that I knew, for example, in the therapy office, when Linda's having therapy, there's sun coming in, so there's this slats of sunlight on Conan's face. That's something that I visualized as part of the world of this film. That we're in wherever the spaces are, things that are oppressive that are happening to her. She's in this space where she's telling her you're in a therapy room where you're telling your darkest things and you're having a very emotional experience, and there's sunlight coming in. That's an affront. And then, like, at night when she's in the field, I didn't care if it looks like a real field or not. I had this idea that it would be foggy and there'd be green light.
But the green is bright.
And the green is bright, and it doesn't matter that a film's professor might say, but where's the source of that green light? I don't care where the source of it is. The source of it is my imagination, and it's the mood of the field. And so once you get rid of those kind of rules and lean into more experimental filmmaking where there are no rules, which is what I'm attracted to, you can have the light on the beach be as it is, with no source light that you can find. Ostensibly, the light is all coming from the moon, but we know that it's not. It would never be that bright.
But your choices are always tied to
Yes,
your psyche
exactly.
and expressing.
So
Like-
the red in the room, for example,
Yeah.
in real life, that type of machine, when you turn the lights out, you can see those little numbers, those little red numbers sort of floating in the dark,
Yeah.
But for Linda, that machine is a character in her life. It's an oppressive monster in her life. And so then my idea was to take that, what would in real life be a little bit of red light, and flood the room with it so that the entire room is red. And these are things that, when you're doing them on set, look very, very extreme when you're on set. And everybody needed to trust me. One thing that I said the most, I think, during the filming of this movie was "trust me." Just trust me.
Rose,
Just trust me.
did she say that a lot?
Maybe not to
We
Rose,
already
but
did trust her.
she already trusted,
I
but to
already
like
did
a
her,
lighting,
yeah.
when I'm telling the lighting guy, pump it up, pump up the red. This is very red. Yes, trust me. This is how I want it. But something I talked about with my cinematographer a lot too was what you're talking about with the contrasts.
Christopher Messina.
Genius. Never told me when I would describe to him a shot, when I would design a shot, never told me no. Would sometimes say, I got to think about that, but would always come up with a way to do it. Always come up with a way to give me what I wanted. And he was very excited by my vision too, because he was saying people are afraid of highlights and they're afraid of black. And he's like, I don't know why either, but let's do it. And we're also shooting on 35, which makes making those choices a technical feat as well.
Rose, I've been a big fan of yours. You've done great comedies. You've done super scary movies like Insidious and drama. This film called you to tap into everything that you've experienced. The horror, the comedic timing that you have mastered, and then the drama. Tell us about navigating that, horror, drama, comedy, all of it at once.
I know, yeah, the film really defies genre. It tempts at them all in a way, and as a performer, it's just such, again, I use this word, but it's an opportunity, to really, and yes, I have done a lot of different genres, and this is a culmination in a way of all of that, and the most sort of challenging part I've ever had, and trying to meet that, and the space in between that was a real, the tone of the film is a tightrope, because it is, obviously, the stakes are so high, but there is, the grievances that Linda has day to day are so all-consuming and dramatic, even if they might be, some of them might be less important than others, but they become all-encompassing.
You're so heightened in this film. It's exhausting, and I was just wondering, what was it like for you? The adrenaline level throughout the whole filming was at that level?
It was high, but I loved it. It was just such a,
Because you're a masochist.
Yeah. But we shot it in 26 days. We were moving so fast. We just have these intense conversations at the start of the day of where we were and tracking it. Is a technical aspect to that, and then it was just, we were off, and I just didn't want to fuck it up. I was like, this is extraordinary, this opportunity.
Well,
and
you did not fuck it up. Did the humor feel to you like a relief?
I mean, I'm always looking for a gag, like, can I make this funny? How can I? But it's to Mary's sort of she speaks to it more eloquently, but sort of the machine of the film and how you release the tension to keep everybody along with this character that is radical. Like, it's radical what she's doing and asking you to watch and to still root for, in a sense.
Yeah, I was, at a certain point. I mean, look, my personality is very much that, like, my coping strategy of tragedy and stress and those kind of situations is to make jokes, is gallows humor, and so that's in this film. But I also, when I was doing the script, it becomes mathematical at a certain point, because like Rose is saying, I describe it like a machine that's chugging along. It's so full up with steam that at a certain point you must release the valve a little bit, or else it will explode. It won't
and also
go all
from
the way.
from an audience point of view, you
Yes,
need to give
absolutely.
audience
It's
a
for
little release.
Yes, and then they'll go further, and then you release a little bit, and then they'll go further. If it had no humor in it, or none of these moments, it could, because when you're watching a movie, your body has two ways to release. One is laughter, and one is crying. Really, you could say also screaming, but those are the two main ones, and so it's important. It was important to have the humor if I'm going to ask the audience to go that deep emotionally.
Correct. Yeah. I was going to ask you earlier when we were talking about the fact that we don't see the face of your child.
Yeah.
How did you play that? Did you?
Well, she was there the whole time. You have this terrific actress, Delaney Quinn, who was there, who, she was
But
there
as
the whole
an
time.
actress, you
Oh, she
saw
was
the
my
face.
scene partner. Yeah,
So,
it was
so
entirely
the
performing
choice
of her.
us not seeing the face, that didn't involve.
It didn't. It was effortless. It never felt like the priority of the scene. Like, oh, we can't see Delaney. It was very effortless. Like, and it was just like playing a scene to her. And then when I saw the film, I too was so taken aback by the visual language that Mary and Chris had been using. I mean, obviously, I knew to an extent what it was, but it wasn't until I really saw the whole film together, like what a extraordinary kind of piece of filmmaking it was.
I have to ask you, it may sound like an odd question, but your character's relationship to food, it's like
Yeah, it's pretty bad, right?
it's pretty bad. The pizza eating scene,
Yeah.
and then I couldn't help to think that your daughter is not eating, but then
Yeah, exactly.
she's like,
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely, you're right. I think there's an element of her gorging herself because her daughter's not eating. So you're compensating for something that's not happening. And yeah, there's a beautiful symmetry in the script and in the story, which you can slowly kind of peel back after you've seen it and thought about it. But from the screenplay, it was always there, this sort of underlining symmetry.
And then the other thing I gotta ask you that may sound odd is the phone calls. I have never seen a character do more phone calls, but each phone call you do is so nuanced, is so different. How was that a
Thank you.
challenge?
Phone calls are really hard. I'm going to tell you guys. It's a hard.
For real? They
are because often the other actor's not there. The phone's hot and you're awkward, and it's like really, it's a hard thing to perform. But Mary was adamant that every single time the actor would be on the call.
The actor
with
was
me.
there. They were acting live as if they were doing a scene.
So Christian Slater's calling in from like Miami or Germany or wherever he's from, like, we get Christian,
But it was so calibrated because the intensity, it varies. Were you conscious, it's like, this is phone call 1, this is phone call 2, 3?
I was. I mean, the trap with a performance like this, or the potential of a trap, is that it's one note and it's just sort of hysterical the whole time, and it was always about trying to figure out the nuance of like, where is she now, where is she then, like, let's figure out where we're getting to before, and that's something we constantly were fine-tuning and calibrating. I think that's why the humor was so important, and the humor was there in the script too, like, for instance, the hamster is described as like Jack Nicholson from The Shining trying to break through the wall, like it was like, it was immediately evident to me that Mary's humor was very much in tune with my own. And it comes from the same place. Like, as an actress, I approach it exactly the same way, whether it's humor or drama. It's the same work that I'm doing.
Just for us to understand your process, was this shot chronologically?
No.
Or so you had to calibrate what level she's at.
What we did was I actually made a chart that was that broke it down so that, like, every scene previous to that scene, how much sleep had she gotten, how much has she had to drink, did she do drugs, and what's her emotional state. So then we could have we hung that up in the hair and makeup department for them to use also, because as you see, there's a de-evolution of physical appearance, and we're shooting out of order. And then we would have a shorthand so that before a scene would, just to get where we need to be, I'd be like, okay, you didn't sleep, you slept 2 hours last night, 3 bottles of wine, whatever.
You look gorgeous.
And gorgeous. And
well, you always look
yes.
gorgeous.
And it was a way because it is, with a film like this, so difficult to shoot out of order, and keep it. So it's a compliment, I think, to Rose's performance.
And to the heads of department, because we were all just collaborating on that technical aspect of it, of just tracking it.
She brought up the hamster. I was going to ask you about the effects. I wasn't going to call them, CGI. There's no CGI.
There's no CGI.
It was all. There's a practical aspect
practical
to
effects.
it,
Yeah.
and some of it is humorous and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
And includes the feeding tube.
Yes.
The ceiling.
Yes.
The hamster. Tell us about the importance of what you just said, that they were made. They were.
Well, I, as a viewer, I always felt like the films that I grew up with, the horror films that existed, or films that played with special effects, even silent films that existed before the technology of CGI was invented, are so there's a visceralness to something actually happening in the room with the actor that, for me, just gives me that much more of a reaction and a feeling. I think with CGI you can do anything. Yeah. So if you can do anything, then you can do anything. It's becomes a little bit meaningless. But for the history of film, most of the history is people having a visual idea and then thinking, well, how am I going to do that? And that's part of the craft of filmmaking that I find really exciting. Yeah. Backing out of a visual. So if I am thinking of, I come up with this idea of a hamster. Now, I can't direct a hamster. Right? So how am I going to do that? How am I going to accomplish this? Well, I have puppets. I'm going to have puppets. And I'm going to do it in a way where I don't care if somebody knows it's a puppet or not. Because if you're going to do puppets, I'm not trying to trick the audience. That's part of the surrealism of the film. When the ceiling collapses in the beginning of the film, that happened. The only way to do it is to happen.
And Rose,
and that's her actual reaction.
That was the real reaction.
That was all very practical for me too. Pulling the cord out. I didn't know it was going to be 50 feet long.
Tube, which is
the feeding tube.
It's body horror.
It's body horror, and I had 50 feet of tubing, and then I had a guy.
Did you know that there was 50 feet coming?
No.
So when you're pulling,
and I have a guy lying on the floor,
it was
pulling
very
the tension.
So it had tension. It had a lot of,
and I just told Rose, just keep pulling till it pops out.
You need an award. If you don't get an Oscar nomination, you should get an award for the best trooper there is in a film.
I just put her through the ringer. Yeah, it's true. But some of the ways to, if you think of the difference of, for example, when we see the hole on the daughter's stomach, that's a prosthetic that's over the Delaney, the actress's actual stomach, and there's strings that are being pulled to make it oscillate. It becomes like a puppet also, and then to make it close. If you could picture how different that would feel if it was digitally done, I mean, that's why it needed to be that way. It's because it is body horror, and it has to feel like a real body. It has
needed the real actor's her reaction, visceral reaction.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. Rose, tell me about working with Conan and your relationship, which is surreal. I mean, it feels to me it's like a love. You guys are breaking up.
It's the love story of the film.
Story.
It's the love story of the film.
Feel too. Yeah, it really is.
Got
it's not physically transgressive, but yeah, it is the love story of the film for me too. And
you guys are breaking
it's
up.
the bitter
Well,
end.
he's dumping you.
Yeah, and but when he does, that's the slide. That's it. Like the movie's over in another 15 or 20 minutes or something like that. That the guardrails go off, and she has no one there now giving her any sort of any semblance of a reality check. But it's a bitter end, so he has sort of contempt for her at the end. He's actively not helping her, and she's pushing boundaries, and there's a lot of transference going on. And
tell me about the aspect that you're playing a therapist who is not being very professional, is not able to help herself.
Doctor, heal thyself. You can't.
she's like really bad therapist. Yeah, she should be like, she's totally burnt out.
She should be on leave.
I mean,
she should be on family leave.
and he should be. And he does tell her at one point, like, you need to sleep and get a full night's sleep and don't smoke pot and do all that stuff. But she's constantly saying to him, "Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do," and he's not helping her. And she's not helping her patients either, if you see.
But there is a sort of a Kafka-esque quality to, like, so he's your supervisor, and who's supervising him, and who's supervising these people? It's like, it's...
Yeah, I got the idea that Linda would be a therapist from... I knew that therapy would be a theme in the movie, but from a therapist that I had that one time...
Hopefully you fired this therapist.
He's not my current therapist. I've had many therapists, but this is 2 therapists ago. And he just said as an aside, so I don't even remember what the context was. My therapist, something. My ears immediately turned off. All I could think of was, he's got a therapist? And then I was like, well, but obviously he has a therapist, okay. But then, like you said, I was thinking, but then that guy has a therapist, and that guy has a therapist, and like, what if in my head I was thinking of a fantasy of like, what if you could just skip to like the head guy, the top guy, but that's the secret, is there is no top guy, Everybody.
It's like a Russian doll.
Exactly, and then it's the secret, the pain of realizing that your therapist is really just a guy, that has his own problems. Or a woman. Yeah.
I forget. I'm sorry, I'm still laughing about the shooting on 35. The choice is so stunning. The movie is at times beautiful, but gritty and grungy. Tell us about that aspect.
Yeah, I made sacrifices to shoot it on 35, but I felt like it was important for the exact reason that you're saying, and what I was talking about before of practical effects. Film is an actual object, and a film camera is a very simple machine. It's just film being threaded through some cogs, and it's a camera that's just taking pictures at a faster rate. And I wanted, I like that. I like the idea that film is something that you can hold. And I also, the bad version of this movie would be something very slick and very sleek and very sort of clean. And I wanted a grunginess. I wanted the noise of the film. I wanted I didn't, there's a process that you do called vacuuming, where you sort of take out all the dust and all the scratches and things. And I did that, and I did a very light process of that. I like the imperfections of the film. There is something gritty, and it makes everything feel a little more dangerous, I think.
Yeah. So much to ask, but Rose, her struggle, she wants to run away, and get away from all of this. But at the same time, she wants to find a cure for her child. Tell us about balancing that tug of war that is inside her head.
Yeah, she's constantly trying to escape, whether
She's smoking pot.
She's smoking pot, she's doing breath work, she's literally running at certain points in the film, she's throwing herself in the ocean. I mean, she's on this quest to escape this this reality that is in front of her that she's not coping with, that she can't cope with, and nobody is really helping her. There's these sort of disembodied voices all around her who are not helping her, and it was that sort of.
But this is something that is not uncommon. And, you know, Mary and Rose, nobody's tackled this before, but, you know, I remember when my mother had my sister, and she was like, I mean, she was having a nervous breakdown because she was alone taking care of this child.
Well, that's the thing thank you for saying that, first of all, because that's was one of the things that I set out to do, was to put some emotions on film that I hadn't seen reflected back at me, emotions that I had that I couldn't think of a film that reflected. And what that feeling is really an existential terror of the idea that you want to get away. Well, what is it really that you want to get away from? You really want to get away from yourself. That's the one thing that you cannot ever get away from. And that's terror. That's scarier than a guy chasing you down the street with a knife in a movie, to me. And so she has a trauma around motherhood, around this specific type of motherhood, which most mothers don't go through, thank goodness, of having of not being in control over the parenting of her daughter because her daughter has this illness. And so it's also this trauma lives inside of your body, and so you can't get away from it. You can't get away from it. The only thing that she has to do is confront it, and the universe makes that decision for her and slaps her in the face with it.
Yeah, I have so many questions to ask you, but we are running out of time, but you're gonna have to come back, and we can continue talking. But one last question is about, you don't have a music score in the film. You do a soundscape. And we hear voices, and we hear when she's in the hospital, we hear, it sounds like an insane asylum. You know, tell us about building the soundscape.
Yeah, I was very, very sure from the get-go that I did not want a score. To me, a score, in a traditional sense, is another tool to aid the viewer in the emotion that they are supposed to be feeling. And it's a good tool, it's a useful tool. That's why it exists with film. And I felt like with this film in particular, it's almost like a glass that's totally filled with water. It didn't need anything else in it. The performance is doing it, the script is doing it, the camera choices are doing it. And then I thought, well, we're so in her reality that why not extend that out to the sound? So the sound becomes perception of what she's hearing. So the clock is like, in her office, is loud. Maybe it doesn't sound that loud to everyone. To her, it does. The sounds of there's like a rumbling sound that's a theme. And you know, in the right theater, it even makes like your chest like physically rumble, and that is, you know, that's going forward in time to what we then experience as the ocean. It's always there inside of her, and so with the sound became an elemental part of this film. I would say doing the sound was probably one of my favorite parts. The hospital is layered soundscapes, found sounds of prisons.
Prison. Oh, wow.
Like empty prison hallways with doors closing and opening and stuff like that.
Because the hospital is like a prison.
That's how she perceives it. And so that's how we built out the sound in all the different areas. Like when she's walking down the hallway in the therapy office, it's that of all those white noise machines. I wanted it to feel almost like a spaceship. you know, and that's how I approach the sound. So, you know, so I give the sound designers the card that usually the composer
I have two
has.
more questions. The editing, this must have been a bitch to editing because with all the close-ups, you didn't have extra.
We had nothing extra.
Extra.
Nothing extra. I also don't overtake at all because we didn't have time. So we did all the work beforehand so that by the time we get on set, we were doing some 2 or 3 takes. I think the most would be 3. And sometimes just one take wonder.
Wow.
And so, you know, like, and so with that, there's not a lot of, there's not extra. And I also on purpose didn't want to shoot anything that I wouldn't have wanted in the film. Like, you know, there's a trap that you get to on set sometimes. Oh, let's get that for safety. Let's get that for safety. I don't want anything for safety because I don't want that in the film. If you have it, it could end up in the film.
But then that gives pressure. Your editor must have been like committing suicide back.
Well, also because I was sitting there the whole time next to him. I sat there every day, all day, and we had a good time. Luke Johnston, who I sort of stole from. I didn't steal him. I borrowed him from Ari Aster in between 2 Ari Aster projects. He's Ari
Midsommar
Aster's
and
editor.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want you to have the last word because this performance is a revelation. It's like nothing you've ever done, but it's like everything you have done led up to this. How do you feel about your work in it and actually seeing what you accomplished, which you should be very proud?
Oh, thank you. I mean, again, it's like Mary gave me this opportunity. This was an extraordinary screenplay, and then seeing the finished product, the film was such an immersive experience for me to watch, and I'm in the movie, and I'm self-conscious, of course, like anybody, but I've not quite had that experience before where I've seen something where I could separate. Because the film is bigger than the performance in every way. I think the language that Mary's using and she had something to say. You know, it says something. This movie, it's a feeling. And what's been extraordinary is how many people relate to the story who don't have children. My friends who don't have kids have related to this feeling. Young people have been like responding to this film in a way that I did not anticipate, and that's been just a gift. So extraordinary to see it play all around the world and play. It's like a prism. It just has so many sides to it. You know, in Toronto it played kind of like a horror, like with this college crowd, and then in New York it was like a sophisticated comedy, and you know, it's just been such a magic trick. So I'm just...
Well, kudos to you I mean, Mary has such a strong vision, but kudos to you to trust and just go along with the ride because it's your best performance to date. And yeah. And the 2 of you, I'm like so stoked that you guys were here. What an amazing...
Thank you for having
what
us.
an
Thank you for
amazing
having
film
us.
and to
Thanks for
chat with
coming.
you.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming out.
Thank you, everybody.